Hey guys, Will Durst here. You know the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Well, here's something that's broke. We're fixing it, and some Sacramento politicians are already trying to break it again. I'm talking about our roads, bridges, and mass transit. You voted not once, but twice, to make sure that our gas taxes are used only for transportation projects. And just as these badly needed projects are getting underway, certain legislators are trying to get their hands on your gas taxes to solve their budget problems. Fortunately, the governor and Democratic leaders have said they oppose this bad idea. It would stop desperately needed transportation projects all across the state, cost thousands of jobs, and sink us further into debt. Look, our state's infrastructure is broken. We're fixing it. Let's not let a few misguided politicians get in the way. To find out more, log on to rebuildca.org. That's rebuildca.org. Sponsored by the California Alliance for Jobs.
You don't have to tell kids like me California has the largest class sizes in the nation. We live it every day we're in school. And yes, it makes it harder to learn, harder to concentrate, harder to get the attention I need, harder to even hear myself think. May I have a hall pass? But even with classes this overcrowded, politicians in Sacramento are talking about cutting education funding by almost $5 billion. Don't they know those cuts could mean California loses up to 107,000 teachers, and class sizes could grow by a third? That would be a giant step backwards for kids just like me. Backwards into, well, that. So call Governor Schwarzenegger and your legislators. Tell them no more education funding cuts that hurt our kids, our schools, and our future.
Paid for by the California Teachers Association and Education Coalition.
We cannot cut this and we cannot cut that, and I refuse it, and then to be so generous and to all of a sudden give $8 billion more in education than we have in our budget. From where? Where are they going to get that money from? Let's first identify where the money comes from and then go and put it down rather than promising, giving false hopes to people. I could have done that in my January budget and said, I'm not going to touch education at all. You give them all the money. We find the revenue somehow. But that's the wrong way and not the fiscally responsible way to act. Of course we all love to support education and give them everything that they deserve. But that's idealistic. That's the ideal situation. But that we are not living in that kind of a world. We are living in a world where the revenues change and where the economy goes up and down and where we have to put a rainy day fund aside so we can cover ourselves from those declines of revenues and all those things. That's the realistic world. But what I'm saying is that they got to learn that we can't expand programs and we can't go and spend money that doesn't exist, that we don't have. And then hopefully we can raise taxes, or hopefully we find money somewhere else. And what message is that? That you go and you have spent too much and then you don't have a rainy day fund set aside to cover yourself. And then you go to the cities and to the counties where they do have a rainy day fund set aside for emergencies and now grab their money. See, that's what they're talking about when they talk about borrowing. They're saying, well, we didn't have a rainy day fund set aside to cover ourselves from the decline. They did. But let's grab their money now because we made a mistake. I have always been against tax increases, but I always want to keep everything on the table. Because you cannot go into negotiations and say, don't talk to me about this, don't talk to me about that. You have to be open-minded, and that's the only way you can get a compromise done. So I'm open-minded, but I'm against tax increases. All right? We want to expand the economy. They want to expand government. I've said it before, and I will say it again. I will not raise taxes on the people of California, period. It's exactly that I see it, which I totally understand, because we have Democrats in the state, a majority of Democrats, And with Republicans...
So you wouldn't change anything, even though you're in the same soup that you started.
We had a good run there with the revenues for a couple of years, and then you went off with the global warming bill and stuff. It seemed like you weren't focused on the budget problem.
This is absolutely absurd what you're saying right now, because to build the hydrogen highway doesn't have anything to do with our revenues. To have the million solar roof initiative is absolutely
nothing to do with... Spending was still going up, and we were in a nice revenue run, and somebody should have been saying, what if this runs out?
Carefully, and to have cars, to the hybrid cars, is absolutely nothing to do with the budget, and to protect the environment.
No, he's under the rug. He's talking about your focus.
When you're thinking about...
No, come back to bite you, that's all I'm saying.
If you think that the environmental issue has anything to do with the budget or with our declining economy worldwide, has absolutely nothing to do with it.
No, what he said is to take your focus off.
It's nonsense rhetoric that you're saying now.
No.
You're the governor. You have to give the people the truth.
Let's be fair here.
Environmental issues that we're talking about has absolutely nothing to do with the budget or with the economy. Don't lie to the people.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
Don't lie to the people.
Hold on.
Okay, don't put wood over the eyes. It's nonsense Republican right-wing talk. You shouldn't do that. You know, you're way above all that.
Wait a second. What he said is...
Let you know that we just had a Big Five meeting, and I told the legislative leaders that it is extremely important not to leave before we have a budget done, and that everyone has to compromise here in order to get this budget done, and it is absolutely essential that we have budget reform, serious budget reform, so we don't ever get into this problem again. So they are off now, talking to each other, and we are trying to move the ball forward, but I think it's very important that we get a budget. We are now 2 months past the constitutional deadline of needing a budget, and it's, I think, inexcusable not to have a budget yet.
Not to leave for the convention, sir?
I recommend everyone to stay here until we have a budget and not for anyone to leave. Absolutely.
Were there any new proposals put on the table? Would be movement, that they were willing to move in some way?
Well, there is always, some movement, but I think it is important for everyone to recognize that we need compromise here. That we cannot not everyone can get stuck in their ideology. There's Democrats and Republicans. They all have the ideology. I totally understand that, but I think that we all have to give in order to make this happen. We have a $15 billion deficit. It's a serious problem, and we are still paying off debt that occurred from the 2003 disaster that we had, and we still haven't paid that off. And the Republicans want to go out and borrow money and more money before we ever have paid off our debt. So I think that's not a good idea. So I think the key thing here is to stay focused and to come up with a compromise. And I know that's very difficult for them. I know they've many times been in this situation in the past, but I think that the key thing is now to stay here and to get the job done. I don't want them to leave until the job is done.
Republicans came out frustrated and said that they won't compromise when it comes to the tax issue.
Everyone has to compromise. Anyone that says they don't want to compromise, I think they're not doing a service to the state of California and to the people of California.
Thank you all.
This is Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. And those of us who are lucky enough to call California home know that our state is a great asset that belongs to all of us. From its coastal cities to its towering redwoods, the Golden State is our treasure. Now in a few days, the state will sell $4 billion of short-term notes. And we do this, of course, every year in order to pay for the schools, healthcare, and other very important services. And your investment actually will protect these vital services. As California residents, you have a special opportunity to buy these notes in an early order period on October 14th and 15th. They're tax exempt, and the state will actually pay your principal and interest in full next June. And you won't have to pay an upfront sales commission on the notes that you purchase during this period. Keep California great and invest in our Golden State. Visit buycaliforniabonds.com.
Provided by the California State Treasurer's Office. This ad is not an offer to sell nor a solicitation to buy notes. Notes may only be purchased through a broker and through an official statement.